and welcome back to part 2 of my life update. I will link part 1 somewhere here or here on screen if you want to know why I didn't vlog at all the past sem, or where I've been and what is going on for the next semester for me. And before I start uploading content for the new semester, I wanted to do a semester wrap up just to close the last semester nicely and talk about the modules that I really liked a lot. So yes, in the past semester, which was year 3 sem 2, I took 3 modules, and as usual I'll be talking about the modules themselves, how I felt about them, readings, and also assessment components. Going in order of the course code, first up we have HL2007 Contemporary Literature. So this module we studied themes such as truth, identity, memory, art, and love. I think there are probably more, but I can't really think of it right now because it's been quite long. So all these are themes that I really like, and the texts that we studied for this module were The Book of Evidence by John Banville, Love in a Time of Cholera by Gabriel Garcia Marquez, Written on the Body by Jeanette Winterson, Silk by Alessandro Barrico, where is it? Waiting for Godot by Samuel Beckett. We also had The Unbearable Lightness of Being by Milan Kundera. Oh, I have this too. Arcadia by Tom Stoppard. I really like this. And I think we also had short works here and there from people like Calvino, Borges, Mikhail, and many others that I can't remember at the moment. I'm sorry. So this was a module that I took to fulfill graduation requirements, so it isn't really something that I personally feel very strongly about. I like it, but I don't love it, if you get what I mean. I think it's a good module to take if you want to, you know, dip your toes into modern and postmodern literature, because it is a level 2 module, so we don't really go that in depth. So might be a good place to start off with if you're feeling a bit intimidated by, I hesitate to use this word, by how abstract the themes of modern and postmodern literature are. But overall I did enjoy it, especially when our prof brought in like art, and I'm talking about like visual art and the role that it plays on literature, because that's not something that I really research or read a lot on, so it's nice to have something new once in a while. For our assessment components, we had to submit our final essay, and prior to that we also had to submit an abstract for that essay. There was also class participation and finals. For me personally, I don't do well in modules with finals, but the finals for this module, they were pretty flexible. Actually, this entire module is pretty flexible, because even for the essay we weren't given specific questions to write on. We just had to propose a topic and get it approved by our prof, so that's good if you want to explore things that you don't usually think about. I chose to write my essay on Beckett's Waiting for Godot. It is a text that is very widely and highly studied, so I wanted to look at elements that weren't addressed as much in scholarship. So I chose to write my essay on dreams and how they can be a recourse to what Beckett calls the obligation to express. You can read more about that in like this book, this chapter. It was such a fun essay to write, and I really enjoyed the process, mainly because I also love reading and studying Beckett's works. Great module, highly recommend it if you want to explore themes across modern, postmodern, mid-20th century to present literature. Bonus points for being in the same class with many friends. Tsing, I still remember your laptop. Please give it a break. For context, my friend Tsing, her laptop's fan used to like whirl super loudly every time she powers it on in class, and you know when it's super silent and just you suddenly hear like the fan whirl. Yeah, backstory. Next we have HL3010 European Literature. Okay, so apart from graduation requirements, the main reason why I took this module was because I saw Kafka on the syllabus, and for some context, Kafka was the author that sparked my interest in everything that I love now. More specifically, it was when I studied Metamorphosis. So for that reason, his works have a very special place in my heart. So this module covered very similar themes as the previous module, which was contemporary literature, just that this is specific to, as the name suggests, the European context. So the readings we had were poems by Charles Baudelaire, and of course the text that I came here for, Kafka's The Trial. We also had Colette's Chérie. It's French, I have learned it. I might have gotten the intonation wrong, so ignore that if it's wrong. We also had Mikhail Bulgakov's The Master and Margarita, and poems again by Anna Akhmatova and Paul Celan. We also had Nathalie Sauret's Tropezimes, Elaine Robbie-Grillet, Jealousy, and Ellie Smith's How to Be Both. We also had films. The two films that we had were Andrei Tarkovsky's Stalker and Celine Sciamma's Portrait of a Lady on Fire. So other than the obvious Kafka, my favorite text from this module would definitely, no question, have to be Tarkovsky's Stalker. Now, in my previous semester wrap-up for Year 3 Sem 1, I mentioned that I really liked Tsai Ming-liang's Goodbye Dragon Inn because it just made me feel a certain way that I couldn't really explain, and Tarkovsky's Stalker made me feel the same way. Also, Stalker is just a piece of cinematic beauty. Like, the shots are amazing. I could just go on and on about how much I love this film, but I will stop here. If you haven't watched a Tarkovsky film before, I highly recommend you check one out. So apart from Tarkovsky and Kafka, I also really like Akhmatova's poems. Now, we did read quite a few, but the ones that stood out to me were To Death and Confusion, mainly because the imagery in them is just wow. It's one of those poems that you have to take a minute after you're done reading it to actually process what you read. Akhmatova is really up there on my list of favorite poets. For assessment components, we had 4 main ones. So we had a mini essay, a final essay, and the accompanying abstract, and we also had creative project. I really love modules with creative project. Every time I see one, I'm just like, yes! So I worked on it with one of my friends, and we did a film adaptation of Baudelaire's A Passing Glance. It wasn't really a film, it was more like a diptyque of films. It was just so fun. I actually have some clips of when we were filming it, like kind of a behind the scenes thing. I was intending to do a vlog, but that evidently didn't happen. But yeah, I think this module overall is up there among my top few because I enjoyed the themes and most of the text. There was really only one text that wasn't my cup of tea, which was Bulgakov's Master and Margarita. And usually it's the other way around, where I only enjoy like 2 to 3 texts from a module, so to have it this way is kind of nice. Also, this module was taught by the same prof that taught me advanced studies in film, and I really like her teaching style, but more importantly, I think that she has helped to make me a much better and more nuanced writer. And if anything, I feel like her advice has helped me to not necessarily overcome, but I guess push through the slump that I was in. I remember this one time I was just super frustrated at my essay because it was not going anywhere, and it got to the point where I didn't even know what I was writing, and she said something that made me look at my frustration differently. So she told me to start at the limits of what I know, because that is where your writing will really start to take shape and where you'll start to learn more about what you're writing. I feel that this applies beyond essay writing as well, and it was something that I kept holding on to throughout the semester, so thank you for that, Prof. It was probably one of my saving graces for the semester. And finally, we are wrapping things up with probably my favorite module of the semester, which is HL 4042, being Human in Film and Literature. Now, this is a new module, but I've been waiting to take it since I heard that it was being created, and that was way back when I was in Year 2 Sem 1, which was before the pandemic even started, so it's been a long time. This module touches upon our understanding of the human through movements such as humanism, transhumanism, and posthumanism. So if you didn't know, posthumanism is an area that I am really interested in, and I actually write about it quite a bit in my FYP, so I was really excited. I might be biased, but this module has my favorite readings of all time. So readings were a mix of theoretical essays, fiction, non-fiction, and also films. So for fiction, non-fiction, we started off with Dostoevsky's Notes from Underground, and I really liked this. It was such a great book to start the module with. And after that we had John Gray's Straw Dogs and Don DeLillo's 0K, Mark O'Connell's To Be a Machine, March Piercy's He, She and It, and PC Jessel's A Living Soul. For films, we had quite a number of films. We had Blade Runner, The Lobster, Downsizing, and also The Martian. For theoretical essays, we had, oh my gosh, we had a lot of people. We had Roland Barthes, Althusser, what else do we have? Foucault, Francis Fukuyama, Rosie Braidotti, Donna Haraway, Neil Badminton, Baudrillard, and Lyotard, I think. I'm probably missing out a few, but that's all I remember. It's hard to choose my favorite text of this module. It's kind of a tie between DeLillo's 0K and Jessel's A Living Soul. These are books that I really recommend you check it out even if you're not interested in the subject matter, because it teaches you so much about yourself and how you see yourself in relation to the world. I remember when I was reading 0K, there was a scene towards the end with a child that made me cry so much, and it wasn't like an instantaneous cry. It was after I put the book down, when I realized what I actually read, that I started to cry. And you know that feeling of wanting to experience something for the first time again? That book was it for me. Like, I just want to experience reading that book for the first time again because of the emotions that I felt. Oh, so for this module, we were assessed through our weekly responses and video essay with an accompanying presentation, and also our final essay. So the last two are pretty self-explanatory, but I want to talk about the weekly responses because it is a component that I really like a lot. And for weekly responses, they are kind of like weekly journals. So prior to class starting, we would write a paragraph on our initial thoughts after reading the text of the week, and after class we would write about how lecture has helped us to maybe answer our questions or prompt any further thinking. The reason why I like weekly responses is because, one, it forces you to read the text because you don't really have much to talk about if you don't read the text, and two, this is from my personal experience because I've taken quite a lot of this prof's modules. The weekly responses really prompted me to think about the text critically beyond class time and also the time that I take to write my responses. I found myself researching more about, you know, what certain things might mean and what other people have said about the text, which I know we're supposed to do regularly, but because of the time that we have, people usually only do it when we have to write an essay. So I guess the weekly responses have in a way made me more invested in the subject matter, which is a good thing because I'm really interested in it. As you can tell, I love this module to death, and not just from an academic standpoint, but because of how humbling it was, if you can call it that. It was a really humbling experience taking this module, and the essay that I wrote was probably the one that I was the proudest of the entire sem. And even though I struggled to articulate what I wanted to say, like a lot, I struggled a lot, it left me with a very warm, fuzzy feelings that made me feel like everything was worth it. So if you do get the chance, I really recommend you take this module because it will change the way that you think of yourself, the way you see the world, and the way that you experience the world. So those were the modules that I took in year 3 sem 2. Oh, it was a really bumpy semester, but I am happy that I made it through. So yeah, today is the 14th of August and week 1 has already started. Like, it started on the 10th, but I didn't have any classes then, so I had nothing to record either. We're still going to be having online classes in week 2, which I guess will be my week 1. So I'll see you then, and hopefully when physical classes resume, I'll be able to film more and finally see my friends that I haven't seen since the semester ended. Oh, I miss them so much. I will try my best to keep up with vlogs this semester. No promises, but I will try. And in the meantime, be safe, be kind, and I will see you soon. Bye!